साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिनि नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरकृष्णे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 ठीक है let's go ahead okay text 9 O Lord of Lords, we are completely ignorant of the execution of dharma, artha, kam, and moksha, the process of liberation, because we do not actually know the goal of life. You have appeared personally before us like a person soliciting worship, but actually you are present here just so we can see. You have come out of your abundant and causeless mercy in order to serve our purpose, our interest, and give us the benefit of your personal glory called Apavarga liberation. You have come, although you are not properly worshipped by us due to our ignorance. So it's almost the same theme here also. Okay, read the
Lord Vishnu was personally present at the sacrificial arena, but this does not mean that he had any interest in his own personal benefit. Similarly, the Archa Vigra, the deity in the temple, is present for the same purpose. Out of his causeless mercy, the Supreme Personality Godhead presents himself before us so that we can see him. Since we have no transcendental vision, we cannot see the spiritual Satchid Ananda Vigra of the Lord. Therefore, out of his causeless mercy, he comes in a form we can see. We can only see material things like stone and wood, and therefore he accepts a form of stone and wood, and thus accepts our service in the temple. This is an exhibition of Lord's causeless mercy. Although he has no interest in such things in order to receive our loving service, he agrees to act as he does. We cannot actually offer suitable paraphernalia for the Lord's worship because we are completely ignorant. It was out of his causeless mercy that the Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Madhu.
Hmm. So same similar point. Since we have no transcendental vision, we cannot see the spiritual Sachidan vision. Therefore, out of his causeless mercy, he comes in a form we can see. So that's the Lord's mercy upon us. So it's not that he's forced to come. Mm. So Vishnu Thakur writes, then why have I been satisfied and made my appearance before you? Lord asked. बाहर कौन बात कर रहा है? Just as a person in knowledge appears before those who are ignorant, just as the person in knowledge appears before those who are ignorant, though he is not being called or worshipped, in order to deliver them by his mercy, You also, superior to all great persons, out of great causeless mercy, to give liberation in the form of realization of your glories, and as well as desired objects have appeared here, not from being worshipped by us, since we do not have them. You have appeared here like someone who has come out of curiosity to see the sacrifice. Hmm. So they're saying the Lord has just come out of curiosity. Okay, 10.
O most worshipable of all, you are the best of all benefactors, and your appearance at saintly King Nabi's sacrificial arena is meant for our benediction, because you have been seen by us, you have bestowed upon us the most valuable benediction.
Mhm. So that being able to see the Lord, that is the greatest benediction. Nicha Purusha Ikshana Vishaya. So Samam Sarabhuta spoken. Further down he says, the Supreme Personality of God is equal to everyone. In that sense, he has no enemies and no friends. Everyone is enjoying the fruitive reactions of his own work, and the Lord within everyone's heart is observing and giving everyone the desired result. However, just as the devotees are always anxious to see the Supreme Lord satisfied in every way, similarly, the Supreme Lord is very anxious to present himself before his devotees. So, I'm quoting now. So further down he says, Lord Vishnu's appearance at the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Nabi was just to please the king and his assistants. Otherwise, there was no reason for his being present. So, just as the devotees are very eager to please the Lord is also eager to reciprocate with his devotees. So, Vishnu Chakravarti says, so the Lord may say, in any case, ask for a benediction. So they say, most worshipful Lord, you have become the object of vision for your devotees when you appeared in the sacrifice performed by the king. This itself is the greatest. Your appearance in front of us, that itself is the greatest benediction. Oh, 11.
Dear Lord, all the great sages who are thoughtful and saintly persons incessantly recount your spiritual qualities. These sages have already burned up all the unlimited dirty things and by the fire of knowledge strengthened their detachment from the material world. Thus they have attained your qualities and are self-satisfied. Yet even for those who feel spiritual bliss in chanting your attributes, your personal presence is very rare.
Perfect.
The priest in Maharaj Nabi's sacrificial arena appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they considered themselves very much obliged. The Lord's appearance is rare even for great saintly persons who have become completely detached from this material world and whose hearts are clean due to the constantly chanting the glories of the Lord. Such people are satisfied by chanting the transcendental qualities of the Lord. The Lord's personal presence is not actually required. The priests are pointing out that the Lord's personal presence is very rare even for such elevated sages, but that he was so kind to them that now he was personally present. Therefore, the priests were very much obliged.
The Lord's personal presence is very rare, and so therefore they're feeling very much grateful that the Lord has kindly appeared. So just like, of course, that is applicable to the two-handed form. In the Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, Krishna says that this two-handed form is Sudurdarsham. Sudurdarsham. Of course, whether it's two-handed form definitely is very rare. But even the four-handed form, the Devtas are not able to see very easily, correct? So even when the Devtas go to the shore of the milk ocean and pray, are they able to see? No. What happens? Yes, only Brahma hears the voice. That's all. So even Brahma is not able to see, and the other Devtas are not even able to hear. So therefore, the darshan of the Supreme Lord is something very rare. And of course, the two-handed form is even more rare. So therefore, they're feeling very grateful. And then he says that because all these great sages, they are um, incessantly anavarata parigunita gunagana paramanga. So they're always engaged in gunagana kathana. So they're always engaged in glorifying your qualities, and because of always glorifying, so therefore the result is vidhuta ashesha malana. So the result of hearing and chanting the Lord's glories is all the dirty things, the anarthas when the heart can be. And how many of them are there? Ashesha, unlimited, unlimited dirty things. But they can be removed, viduta, by anala, fire. What is that fire? Asanga nishita jnana, detachment strengthened by knowledge. That is what acts like fire. Fire of knowledge strengthen the detachment from negative. So in the fourth chapter of the Gita also Krishna speaks something similar, right? Fourth chapter of the Gita. Fire of knowledge. Hmm? Hmm? Jnanagni dagda karmani. So the jnana acts like fire. That is how all the wood-like karmas are destroyed by the fire of knowledge. Hmm. So what is the relation between knowledge and the karmas being destroyed by this fire? So same thing is said here. So how the knowledge acts like fire?
will be in that way where they can't, where they don't develop more and more sins, and with the power of chanting the holy names of the Lord, attributes of the Lord, that sins are negated or removed.
Mm. Yes. So the you want to say? So yes. So the jnana acts like fire because by that knowledge, then one is able to properly practice the process, and the process destroys all the unwanted things. Hmm. So otherwise, without the knowledge, then it's very difficult to develop detachment, and then it's very difficult to purify oneself by giving up all the various sinful activities. So therefore, the knowledge is important. Of course, whenever we talk of knowledge, it means not only theoretical knowledge, but realized knowledge. Hmm. Jnana vijnana sahitam. So when the proper knowledge is there, then the process, one practices the process, and the process purifies Chetu Darpana Marjana. Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Little confusion that
Hmm.
generally when the Supreme Lord presents in the sacrificial arena, the performer of the yajna will be glorifying the Supreme Lord in many cases. Here, when Nabi performing this sacrifice, and King Nabi should be glorifying or praising the
Mm-hmm.
Lord, but here we are seeing the priests of that sacrifice were
Hmm.
glorifying the Supreme Lord.
Hmm.
So like, is there any something mentioned somewhere? Okay, why this is? Because King Nabi only he will just ask the benediction of the Lord. That's it. Like,
Of course, the priests are praying on behalf of King Nag.
but in earlier purport, it seemed that uh, actually the priests were feeling ashamed of performing this sacrifice for asking for such kind of a
That will come later. Hmm.
for such kind of thing. So
Okay, some more points will come later. Will become okay. Fine. So they're feeling grateful because the Lord's presence is very rare. So they're feeling grateful. Okay, 12.
Dear Lord, we may not be able to remember your name, form, and qualities due to stumbling, hunger, falling down, yarning, or being in miserable disease condition at the time of death when there is a high fever. We therefore pray unto you, O Lord, for you are very affectionate to your devotees. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes, and activities which can dispel all the reactions of our sinful life.
Yes. So now they're praying to the Lord. So till now they have basically glorified the Lord. Now they are praying for some benedictions. So they're saying that we will not be able to remember your name, form, qualities, and all these various conditions. So therefore we pray that your affectionate devotees, please help us remember you and your holy name. Then one can get rid of all the sinful reactions. So Prabhupada writes, the real success in life is Ante Narayana Smriti, remembering the holy name, attributes, activities, and form of the Lord at the time of death. Although we may be engaged in Lord's devotional service in the temple, material conditions are so tough and inevitable that we may forget the Lord at the time of death due to a disease condition or mental derangement. Therefore, we should pray to the Lord to be able to remember His lotus feet without fail at the time of death when we are in such a precarious condition. In this regard, one may also see Srimad Bhagavatam 6 to 9 to 10 and 14 to 15. So this is prayer is similar to which one? Okay, one is Kulashika's prayers and Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad, the last two mantras are quite similar, where they are also praying to the Lord, please remember our sacrifices and everything that we have done, and please help us to remember you. So the devotee is praying in this way. So anyway, so Srila Prabhupada is giving some references here. So we should definitely read these references. 6, 2, 9 and 10. ठीक है पढ़ो.
The chanting of the holy name of the Lord Vishnu is best process of atonement for the thief of gold or others valuables, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a Brahman, or for one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru and another superior. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders woman, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cow, and for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord Vishnu, such sinful person may attract the attention of Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, my duty is to give him protection.
Okay, so big list of so many sinful activities. So even one has completed all these very sinful activities, one chants the holy name, then one can attract the grace of the Lord and one can get the Lord's protection. Okay, and then the 14th verse. So this is again well-known verse. Sanketyam parihasyam va stobam helanam eva va Vaikuntha nama grahanam ashesha agaharam vidu. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. Ashesha. Even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, Muslim entertainment, or even English, this is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures. So that's the glory of the holy name. And 15th verse. पतितस्खलितो भग्नः सन्दष्टस्तप्त आहतः हरिरित्य अवश्येनाः पुमान्नार्हति यातनः. Read.
If one chants the holy name of Hari and then dies because of an accidental misfortune, such as falling from the top of a house, slipping, and suffering broken bones while traveling on the road, being bitten by a serpent, being afflicted with pain and high fever, or being injured by a weapon, one is immediately absolved from having to enter hellish life, even though he is sinful.
So that's the glory of the holy name. And so that is why they are praying to the Lord, please let us remember your holy name at the time of death, very difficult condition. Okay, 13.
Dear Lord, he is a great King Nabhi, whose unlimited goal in
Ultimate.
sorry, whose ultimate goal in life is to have a son like you, your Lordship, whose position is like that of a person approaching a very rich man and begging for a little grain. grain. Maharaj Nadi is so desirous of having a son that he is worshipping you for a son. Although you can offer him any exalted position, including elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation back to God.
Yes. So they are saying that here is this King Nabi and he simply wants a son. You can offer him anything, but he just wants a son. Because Prabhupada writes, the priests were a little ashamed that King Nabi was performing a great sacrifice just to ask the Lord's benediction for a son. The Lord could offer him promotion to heavenly planets or Vaikuntha planets. When you wanted to. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us how to approach the Supreme Lord and ask him for the ultimate benediction. Nadanamna Janamna Sundari. So he's quoting that. His only prayer is Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhakti Ahituki Tvai. He wants to be engaged perpetually in the loving service of the Lord. He does not want promotion to heavenly planets or mukti. If this were the case, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not have said Mama Janmani Janmani. It does not matter to a devotee whether or not he takes birth life after life, as long as he remains a devotee. Actually, eternal liberty means returning home back to God. A devotee is never concerned about anything material. Although Nabi Maharaj wanted a son like Vishnu, wanting a son like God is also a form of sense gratification. A pure devotee wants only to engage in the Lord's loving service. Okay. But in any case, here I think the further verses and purports reveal that though of course wanting a son like God is also a form of sense gratification. But here the Lord was pleased because of King Nabi's devotional service and also because he wanted Vishnu as his son, ultimately to serve. As Srila Prabhupada explains in his lectures, that amongst the two desires to worship Krishna as father or Krishna as son, which is better? Why? Yes. So if Krishna comes as son, then one has to serve. If Krishna is father, yes. So one only has big list for the father. Give me this, give me that. So therefore, having the desire to accept Krishna as a son is better. Then one can serve. So that was the reason why Nabi actually wanted Krishna, Vishnu as his son, so that he can serve. So it was not totally a material desire, and that is the reason why the Lord agreed. And of course, ultimately, it was the Lord's plan also. Hmm. So therefore, in though Prabhupada is making the general statement, but in the case of King Nabi, it was not just a material desire. So therefore, the Lord agreed to fulfill that. Hmm. So, but the point is that the main thing which a devotee aspires for is only service, nothing other than service. So, but then here Srila Prabhupada is writing, actually, eternal liberty means returning home back to God. And Srila Prabhupada said so many times, we should desire to go back home, back to God. So, what is correct? Should we desire to go back home, back to God, or no? Or should we just desire to serve in this material world? Desire to serve wherever it may be. Okay, that is correct. Then Srila Prabhupada writes in so many places, go back home, back to God. Then that is wrong. Okay, that is correct. But then what is the meaning of going back home? Okay, so you say that going back home, back to God, it means returning to our constitutional position as servants. So that is your understanding. Mhm. But then there are so many references we can show you where Srila Prabhupada is talking about the spiritual world, and then he says we must actually desire to go back to the spiritual world. Okay, wait. We'll show reference. So where is description of the spiritual world in Bhagavad Gita? Hmm? Hmm. 15th chapter? Which verse? 6th verse. न तद्वासते सूर्यो न शशांक न पावक यद गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम paramam mama. So the whole first paragraph, Prabhupada is describing about Vaikuntha, and then he says, as soon as the living entity is in this dark material world, is in conditioned life, but as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, by cutting through the false perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated. Then there's no chance of his coming back here. Here. That means there are two places, right? There, here. Two places are there. In his conditional life, the living entity considers himself as lord of this material world, but in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. There. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge. One should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. Abhi, he explained. Okay, वो ठीक है, but what is the meaning of this statement? देखो अभी एकदम क्लियर है ना, he should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world. अभी ये इतना क्लियर है अभी. हाँ, I think so that's a good answer.
It should be like not out of material frustration, but to continue the service because we have limitations in this body, because
Hmm.
like limitations of being conditioned.
Hmm.
At time we get
Hmm.
old, we won't
Hmm.
be able.
Hmm. Yes, this is the correct understanding. So we should, as Prabhupada is so clearly saying, right? He's not saying that you desire to continue devotional service in this material. He's not saying that he should have written like that. No, then, oh, that spiritual world is there, but actually one should not desire to go to spiritual world. That is sense gratification. Remain in the material world and perform devotion. He should have written like that, no? He He should have written like that. But he's not writing like that. He's very clearly saying he should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world, extricate himself. Extricate का मतलब क्या है? बाहर निकलना. Extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. For one who is too much attached to this material world, it's very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there is a chance of gradually being attached. And then he's telling the process, comes process. So therefore, and Srila Prabhupada, how many places, how many times Srila Prabhupada says one should desire to go back home, back to Godhead. We just read no 1 to 17. 1 to 17. Prabhupada writes, not many people desire to go back home, back to God. So, and Srila Prabhupada all the time he says, oh, what is this material world? So many analogies Prabhupada says, material world is like toilet, so many, no? So many miseries. So which gentleman would like to stay in the material world? Okay, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada himself quoted. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, what he said about the material world? Here is no place for gentlemen. So this is what our acharyas are saying. So therefore, first of all, one should desire to get out. If one does not desire to get out, and one thinks, ठीक है, यहाँ पर रहकर, यहाँ पर सेवा करेंगे, then it will become an excuse for not performing devotional service seriously. ठीक है, यही तो रहना है ना, यही तो रहना है. महाप्रभु ने कहा है यही तो रहना है. अरे तो इतना सीरियसली क्यों लेना है? अरे यही तो रहना. That is what will happen. So therefore, first of all, we need to have that desire to get out. देखो, see, even if one wants to remain in the material world and perform devotional service, now we have already had so many discussions. This material world is a dangerous place. We were discussing, no? Even if one is on a liberated platform, we discussed no all that. Even if one is on liberated platform, what is the problem? Yes, material body means three modes. And that means there's always a risk of being influenced by Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Always the risk is there. As long as one has material body. We read no all those purports we read 14th chapter, Prabhupada writes, one can be free from the modes only when, yes, when one gets out of this body. Material world is a dangerous place. We have to accept this fact. Very risky place. And so even if one is on liberated platform, Mahabhagavad, but still, body is so much trouble. Just like we see Srila Prabhupada's life. Towards this final day, Srila Prabhupada wanted to travel everywhere, preach. Could he do it? No. Because the body has so many limitations. So therefore, definitely one needs to have that desire to get out, to go to the spiritual world, perform devotional service in such a way that one wants to get out. But it is not simply for becoming free from miseries. That is not the main purpose. The main purpose is to serve unlimitedly because the spiritual world offers unlimited opportunities and facilities to serve. Therefore, I want to go. If we simply desire to go out of frustration from the material world, that could be an impetus. But if that is the main reason, then there's the contamination of mukti. Yes, that will be a contamination. So therefore, we need to have the desire to go back to the spiritual world, but it is only to offer better service. unlimited service. But after going there, if Krishna says, now please go to the material world and preach, then we have to be ready for it. But then there is a difference. See now, see now this is condition state, right? Now if I continue my material life, suppose next life Krishna fulfills my desire to have a material body, human body, and continue to serve, continue to preach. Then what type of body will that be? It will still be conditioned state. My conditioned state is continuing. But if I go back to the spiritual world and then Krishna sends me, I I go back or I become qualified to go back to the spiritual world, and then by Krishna's desire I come to the material world. Then what type of body? Yes, that will be Nitya Siddha, just like Narad Muni. And what is the qualification of the Nitya Siddha? Yes, he never forgets Krishna, even though he has a material body. Then there is no problem. Then there is no problem. If one comes to the material world by Krishna's desire, then there is no problem. But if now we have a desire, oh, I'm such a great preacher, I'm having so much fun preaching. So please let me remain in this material world. And if Krishna fulfills that desire, then we are simply continuing our Nitya Baddha life. And that's always a very risky position. So therefore, one should definitely desire to transfer himself to that eternal. The desire has to be there. If that intense desire is there, then one will try to acquire the qualification to enter, right? If that intense desire is not there, then one will not even try to be qualified for that. That's a problem. Then how will I get purified? So therefore, the desire has to be there. One has to work to fulfill that desire. But then if Krishna wants, then one is ready to continue in the material world, to continue to serve. But there's a difference. I hope this point is clear. So therefore, um, Shuddhagiri Prabhu tells, one Srila Prabhupada in his sort of private talks with him, Srila Prabhupada said, I would definitely like to go back to the spiritual world and play with Krishna and eat laddu. You know which were the two favorite items of Srila Prabhupada? Kachori and this bundi laddu that we distributed. That is Srila Prabhupada's favorite. You didn't know? Kachori everyone knows, but this laddu also is his favorite. You can read in, I don't know if it comes in Leelamrit, but, or maybe I read somewhere else. But when Srila Prabhupada passed away from this world, at that time in Vrindavan, you know who was the main cook? Cooking for all the devotees in the devotee kitchen. No? It was BV Govind Maharaj. That time he was not a sannyasi, I'm forgetting his previous name. Yes. Are when Srila Prabhupada passed away from this world, so he was the main cook. And I read some article, I suppose, where he describes that entire scene and exactly what happened and that samadhi and all that he describes in one place. So he was the main cook over there. And so he describes. So on that day, they specifically made kachori and this bundi laddu because they were Sri Prabhupada's favorite items. Hmm. 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 Right. So these are two properties to say that. So anyway, so yes, so Prabhuji said, yes, I want Prabhupada told them, I want to go back to the scripture. Simply play with Krishna. So yes, so that's the desire of the devotee. But at the same time, the devotee surrendered to Krishna as well. And of course, you may have heard that pastime which Bhavanand Prabhu shares. Again, in one intimate conversation with him, when he was alone with Bhavanand Prabhu, maybe he was reciting. Yes. So Bhavan Prabhu tells this pastime. When so in the spiritual world, Krishna himself told Srila Prabhupada, go down to the material worlds and deliver those fallen souls. And Srila Prabhupada said, material worlds. Why you want me to go to that terrible place, horrible place? And Krishna said, no, no, no. You just go and you simply write those books. I will do the rest. And that's why you find the main purpose for Krishna, for Srila Prabhupada's descent is what? Books. And that's why that was the service which he did. From the beginning till the last breath, he was doing that. Because that was Krishna's special service, the books. And that was always his main emphasis. And of course, then everything else happened actually. The main thing that Srila Prabhupada did was he gave the books, and devotees distributed the books, and everything else was secondary. Everything else happens. So in any case, so that should be the proper understanding. So we definitely want to get purified, want to go back to the spiritual world, but at the same time, so we want to go for service, and for service, if Krishna wants us to go somewhere else, we will go. Okay? Because to be in the material world and come to bhava and prema is very difficult and very rare. So therefore, that's not easy. Okay, 14th verse.
Dear Lord, unless one worships the lotus feet of great devotees, one will be conquered by the illusory energy, and his intelligence will be bewildered. Indeed, who has not been carried away by the waves of material enjoyment, which are like poison? Your illusory energy is unconquerable. No one can see the path of this material energy or tell how it is working.
Hmm. Okay, so as they are saying, hmm, who has not been carried away by the waves of material enjoyment, which are like poison? Your illusory energy is unconquerable. No one can see the path of this material energy or tell how it is working. So Prabhupada is quoting Devesha Gunamai. So in this context, we took this verse again of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, 7, 9, 16. Let's open 7, 9, 16. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, त्रस्तोऽस्म्यहं कृपणवत्सलदुःसूग्र संसारचक्रकदनाग्रसतां प्रणीतः बद्धस्वकर्मभिरुषतमत्यङ्घ्रिमूलम् प्रीतोऽपि वर्गशरणं न्यसे कदा नु. O most powerful and insurmountable Lord, who are kind to the fallen souls, I've been put into the association of demons as a result of my activities. And therefore, I'm very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. When will that moment come when you will call me to the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the ultimate goal for liberation from conditioning? Okay, please do the purpose.
Being in the material world is certainly miserable, but certainly when one is put into the association of asuras or atheistic men, it is intolerably so. One may ask why the living entity is put into the material world. Indeed, sometimes foolish people deride the Lord for having put them here. Actually, everyone is put into conditional life according to his karma. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, representing all the other conditioned souls, admits that he was put into life among the asuras because of the results of his karma. The Lord is known as Krupana, Krupana Vatsala because he is extremely kind to the conditioned souls. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, therefore, the Lord appears whenever there are discrepancies in the execution of religious principles. Yada yada hi dharmasya glaniribhavati bharata tadatmanam srijamyaham. The Lord is extremely anxious to deliver the conditioned souls, and therefore he instructs all of us to return home back to Godhead. Sarvadharman parityaj mamekam saranam braja. Thus Prahlad Maharaj expected that the Lord, by his kindness, would call him again to the shelter of his lotus feet. In other words, everyone should be eager to return home back to Godhead, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus being fully trained in Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so again here, everyone should be eager to return home back to Godhead. Of course, that. So both the points are correct. That first of all, one has to come to that realization that I'm servant. Then one becomes qualified to go back home, back to God. So both go together. So it involves the consciousness as well as the place. Of course, the place one attains when there is the consciousness. Okay, so even Prahlad Maharaj is anxious. Goes to go to the shelter of the lotus feet. Okay, why? Because as Prabhupada is writing right in the first sentence of the purport, material world is certainly miserable. But of course, for Prahlad Maharaj, later on what Prahlad Maharaj says, I have no misery. Hmm? What is it? Mahamrit Neibo Dvije Paraduratya Vaitaranyas Tad Virya Gayana Mahamrita Magna Chitta. My chitta is in total bliss because I am simply hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord. So he has no problem in the material worlds. Of course, he's lamenting for others' problem. Sho chetado vimukha chetasa indriyartha. So he's lamenting for them. But here in this verse, why he's miserable? He has the association. Because of the association of asuras. That is what is making him miserable. Okay, in this purport, Maharaj Nabi was inclined to performing great sacrifices for begetting a son. The son might be as good as the Supreme Personality of God, but such a material desire, be it great or insignificant, is brought about by the influence of Maya. Devotee does not at all desire anything for sense gratification. Then you start Anya Blash Shunyam. Freedom from Maya's influence is possible when one engages in the service of the great devotees. Mat Charana Seva. And that is what Prahlad Maharaj also asked, right? He also asked for service to Narad Muni. Where that from? That comes later on, but even before that, yes, here only it comes. Next verse only it comes. यस्मात् प्रियप्रियवियोगसयोगजन्म शोकाग्निना सकलयोनिषु दह्यमानः दुःखौषधं तदपि दुःखमतधियाहं भूमन् भ्रमामि वद मे तव दास्य योगम्. Yeah, so here only it is coming. Translation, brother?
O Great One, O Supreme Lord, because of contact with displeasing,
पढ़ो. I think that he is reading from the screen.
because of contact with displeasing circumstances and separation from pleasing circumstances, one is placed in a most regrettable position on heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of the miserable life, any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such a service.
Mm. दीर्घानि तीर्थयालय हंससङ्ग. So anyway, so yes, the Prahlad Maharaj also is, he prays for the service of the Supreme Lord, the service of his servants, and of course the service of Narad Muni. Okay, fine. So Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Charya Vaishnav Seva Nistar Paishikeva. Who has been freed from Maya's clutches without serving the lotus feet of a Vaishnava? Maya is aparajit and her influence is also aparajit. Devesha Gunamamani. And then Srila Prabhupada is quoting verses for association of devotees. Sadhu Sang, Sarva Shastra Ko, Lava Matra Sadhu Sang, Sarva Siddhi Ho. Mahat Kripa Vina Kona Karma Bhakti Nai, Krishna Bhakti Dure Rahu Samsara Nahi Kshay. If one is serious about escaping Maya's influence and returning home back to Godhead, one must associate with a sadhu devotee. That is the verdict of all scriptures. By the slight association of a devotee, one can be freed from the clutches of Maya. Without the mercy of the pure devotee, one cannot get freedom by any means. Certainly, a pure devotee's association is necessary in order to obtain the loving service of the Lord. One cannot be freed from Maya's clutches without sadhu sang, the benediction of a great devotee. Okay, so Prahlad Maharaj's verse, we got it here. So that's 32nd. 7.5.32. नैषामतिस्तावदुरुक्रमाङ्घ्रिं स्पृशत्य अनर्थापगमो यदर्थः महीयसां पादरजोऽभिषेकं निष्किञ्चनानां न वृणीत यावत्. One cannot become the Lord's pure devotee without taking the dust of a great devotee on his head. Pada Rajobhishek. And similar verse also comes in, yes, King Rajan. A pure devotee is Nishkinchan. He has no material desire to enjoy the material world. One has to take shelter of such a pure devotee in order to attain his qualities. The pure devotee is always free from the clutches of man. So that is what these sages are, or these priests are also praying to the Lord, that they get the association of devotees so that they can remember the Lord. Okay, 15. Read.
O Lord, you perform many wonderful activities. Our only aim was to acquire a son by performing this great sacrifice. Therefore, our intelligence is not very sharp. We are not experienced in ascertaining life's goal. by inviting you to this negligible sacrifice for some material motive. We have certainly committed a great offense at your lotus feet. Therefore, O Lord of Lords, please excuse our offense because of your causeless mercy and equal mind.
So definitely they've committed a great offense by calling the Lord for a very petty reason, simply for getting a son. Purport: the priests were certainly unhappy to have called the Supreme Lord from Vaikuntha for such an insignificant reason. A pure devotee never wants to see the Lord unnecessarily. The Lord is engaged in various activities, and the pure devotee does not want to see him whimsically for his own sense gratification. The pure devotee simply depends on the Lord's mercy, and when the Lord is pleased, he can see him face to face. The Lord is unseen even by demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. By calling on the Supreme Lord, the priests of Navi Maharaj proved themselves unintelligent. Nonetheless, the Lord came out of his causeless mercy. All of them, therefore, wanted to be excused by the Lord. So, as Prabhupada also says in lectures, a devotee does not want to give trouble to the Lord unnecessarily. And then he's quoting Chakravartin. And then towards the end of the purport, again he is bringing it to. So one nice statement Prabhupada is writing. Not knowing the various activities and engagements of the Lord, such people unnecessarily disturb the Lord for material gain. However, the Lord is so kind that even though disturbed, he fulfills the desires of such beggars. The pure devotee is Anya Bilashata Shunya. He has no motive behind his worship. He is not conducted by the influence of Maya in the form of karma or jnana. The pure devotee is always prepared to execute the order of the Lord without personal consideration. The Rutvija, the priests at the sacrifice, knew very well the distinction between karma and bhakti, and because they considered themselves under the influence of karma, fruitive activity, they begged the Lord's pardon. They knew that the Lord had been invited to come for some spiritual reason. So that is the end of the prayers of the priests. So now Shukdev Goswami continues speaking. Please read 16.
Sri Sukdev Goswami said, the priests who were even worshipped by King Nabhi, the emperor of Bhartavarsha, offered prayers in prose. Generally, they were in poetry and bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord of Lords, the ruler of the demigods, was very pleased with them, and he began to speak as follows.
Okay, so now the Lord speaks a few verses. Next.
17. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, O great sages, I am certainly very pleased with your prayers. You are all truthful. You have prayed for the benediction of a son like me for King Nabi. But this is very difficult to obtain. Since I am the Supreme Person without a second, and since no one is equal to me, another personality like me is not possible to find. In any case, because we are all qualified Brahmanas, your vibrations should not prove untrue. I consider the Brahmanas who are well qualified with Brahmanical qualities to be as good as my own mouth.
So the Lord is saying, okay, there's no other person like me, so I'm ready to come as your son. And anyway, since you Brahmanas, you're all well qualified, you desired this, so I'll fulfill your desire. Purport: the word avitatha girbhi means they whose spoken vibrations cannot be nullified. The Brahmanas, Dvija, the twice born, are given a chance by the Shastric regulations to become almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Whatever a Brahmana speaks cannot be nullified or changed in any circumstance. According to the Vedic injunctions, a Brahmana is the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in all rituals, a Brahmana is offered food, Brahman Bhojan. Here it is very common. Because when a Brahmana eats, it is considered that the Supreme Lord Himself eats. Similarly, whatever a Brahmana speaks cannot be changed, it must act. So that was also what Maharaj Raghuna he told Jad Bharat. So when he realized that Jad Bharat is not an ordinary person, he fell down at his feet And what he said? He said, I am afraid of the Vajra of Indra and the Trishul of Lord Shiva. I am not afraid, but I am afraid of the curse of a Brahmana. Hmm. Why? Because if a Brahmana curses, it has to come true. But which type of Brahmana? Here also they are saying, here the Lord Himself is saying, yes, qualified with Brahmanical qualities. So if you have the qualities, then the Brahmana becomes extremely powerful. Mhm. So the Lord also feels obliged to fulfill those words of the Brahmanas. So therefore it has to come true if a Brahmana curses, well qualified. So we see in the case of Shringi also, even though he was a small boy, but of course he didn't have all the qualities, but still, of course the Lord's plan also was there. So it came true. Yeah. Narada of course is topmost Vaishnava. The learned sages who were priests, so here the point is coming. The learned sages who were priests at Maharaj Nabi sacrifice were not only Brahmanas, but were so qualified that they were like devas, demigods, or God Himself. If this were not the case, how could they invite Lord Vishnu to come to sacrificial element? So they were also qualified Brahmanas. God is one, and God does not belong to this or that religion. In Kali Yuga, different religious sects consider their God to be different from the God of others, but that is not possible. God is one and is appreciated according to different angles of vision. In this verse, the word Kaivalyat means that God has no competitor. There's only one God. Na tat samasyabhyadikascha drishyate. 18.
Since I cannot find anyone equal to me, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion, and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabi, the son of Agni Nidra.
Okay, so the Lord is saying, no one is equal to me, so I personally will incarnate in the womb of Mary Devi, plenary as a plenary portion. So Prabhupada is talking about Swamshas, Vidyanamshas. Okay, 19.
The sun continued. After saying this, the Lord disappeared. The wife of King Nabhi, Queen Meru Devi, was sitting by the side of her husband, and consequently she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken.
Prabhupada is talking about the Sapatniko Dharmam Achare, religious rituals to be performed with one's wife. Okay, 20.
O Vishnurut, Parikshit Maharaj,
Vishnu Datta.
O Vishnu Datta, Parikshit Maharaj, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was pleased by the great sages at that sacrifice. Consequently, the Lord decided to personally exhibit the method of executing religious principles as observed by Brahmanas, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, and grastas engaged in rituals, and also satisfy Maharaj Nabi's desire. Consequently, he appeared as a son of Meru Devi in his original spiritual form, which is above the modes of material nature.
Yes. So that means Shuddha Sattva. So Prabhupada has explained that Shuddha Sattva in the purpose. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shaktitam. That is the platform of Vasudeva. So in the next paragraph, Prabhupada, unlike ordinary living entities, the Supreme Lord is not forced by the modes of material nature to appear. He appears dharman darshitu kama to show how to execute the functions of a human being. Dharmam to sakshat bhagavati. Thus, in the book on purpose of the fifth canto, third chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Rishabdev's appearance in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Nina. Jaldi khatam hai? Actually, previously the first six chapters were together as one unit. So, six becomes a little more. Actually, it can be completed. But anyways. 3 becomes a little less, 6 becomes a little more. So between the two choices, it's better to have little less, right? Any case. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you all very much for participating in this discussion, Srimad Bhagavatam. So I get a good opportunity to study the Bhagavatam and discuss in the association of Vaishnavas. So thank you for your kind association. So I could learn something in your association. Okay, so please continue attending the further classes and don't forget your duties.
We,
Okay, so
thank you, Prabhuji. We are
so अरे ये नई बात क्या है ये तो हम
give,
आते
give
रहते
us
हैं जाते रहते हैं
give us opportunity to show
what
our gratitude.
and no you're
At least
the showing gratitude is sitting in the class that is the
so,
biggest
let us thank
biggest
Prabhuji.
benediction you're giving is by coming to the class and attending such only rare souls do this spend so much time to hear Bhagavatam so therefore I'm grateful. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthram Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare